my experience, the biggest thing that gets in the way of having a great jazz feel on the guitar is slurring in the wrong places in time. To get a great jazz feel, we want to slur onto these strong beats. We want to hammer on or pull off or slide onto strong beats that can be quarter note beats or eighth note beats. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. We're going to break down some licks from some of the best guitar players in history in the genre of jazz music, and I'll show you how you can work on this yourself. It's going to be fun. Let's do it. I'm Jared Borkowski from soundguitarlessons.com, where I have courses that help guitarists express themselves more freely and confidently through theory, knowledge, arranging, improvisation, and much more. If you're new here, welcome. Please subscribe and follow. I have new lesson videos every week. All right, let's go through these licks together. I have 4 licks that have examples of slurring onto the beats. We got one from Kenny Burrell, one from Jim Hall, one from Joe Pass, one from Wes Montgomery. And then I have 2 examples of players, one Wes Montgomery and one from Grant Green, where they are not slurring, but they could have, but they didn't. And we are going to do an exercise to try to exclusively slur onto the beat, which is going to be great training. And I'll show you that at the end. So let's dive in with this first exercise, or this first example, this first lick. This is by Kenny Burrell on the tune Freight Train, which is on an album that he did with John Coltrane. Here is the lick itself, little tiny snippet, and then we'll break it down. Okay, here it is nice and slow. And here it is a little faster. Okay, so slurring onto the beats, I said quarter notes or eighth notes. If you're tapping your foot, it doesn't matter what the time signature is. If you can tap your foot, it's only on the stronger of those beats that you're tapping fast or slow that you would want to slur onto. So if people are playing 16th note runs, you can slur onto the stronger of the eighth notes. So it doesn't just have to be quarter notes, okay? So whatever the stronger notes are. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are definitely the stronger notes. If you're playing faster runs, then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and those are all the stronger beats, okay? And then you wouldn't slur onto the other ones. So it kind of depends on what the feel and what the run is. So there are 2 slurs happening here. That's one of them. That's another one. Now, it's not about slurring all the time as much as we possibly can, as I said, but those slurs are so essential for the feel, and they're on the beat. So I'm going to do a 120 tempo just so we can make sure we see that they are on the beat. Kind of tried to give a head nod there to show you those slurs are exactly on the beat. And again, you could do that without slurring, but if you're going to slur, you want to put it onto the beat. So that's the Kenny Burrell lick. Okay, let's move on to the next lick. Now, my goal here is not to teach you the licks necessarily, but just to give you examples so you can hear the real music and then hear me break it down and say, sure enough, those slurs are on the beat. Then I will give you the exercise that you can really practice to try to start getting those slurs on the beats. This next lick is by Jim Hall. This is on an album with Bill Evans, one of my favorite albums, and it is on the tune My Funny Valentine. And here is the lick itself. Okay, there's the lick, and then here is what it is. Okay, there are 3 slurs happening here. There's one of them, hammered on. And then that's the second slur, and then the first one happens again. It's just so interesting that these players intuitively on the spot improvising know to get the feel that they want. It's just in them, but it just happens that the slurs almost never, ever, ever happen the other way around. They almost never, ever happen onto a weak beat because that wouldn't have the upbeat accent that gets a jazz feel. So. Let's try this with that 120 tempo. Okay, so once again, those slurs only happening on the beat. It's not hard to find your own examples too. If you listen to anyone, those slurs are happening onto the beat. Let's go on to the next lick. The next one is Joe Pass. Oh, I love this so much, from the album Meditation and from the tune on that album called Meditation. I love that track. Okay, so I played a bigger chunk of it, so I'll play the context around it. That's the spot. So we got slur, slur, onto the beat. Very cool kind of chord melody stuff happening there. So this main little lick, okay, here it is with the tempo. Okay, the slur is happening from the offbeat onto the strong beat. Once again, let's go on to a fourth example. This next example is Wes Montgomery from him playing on the tune Days of Wine and Roses. This is a beautiful tune and arrangement. Here's the lick itself by Wes. Let's play that one again. So here's what's happening there. Okay, there's only 2 slurs happening. So there's a lot of notes though, but 2 slurs. That's that first one. And sure enough, it's onto a beat. That's the whole point of this. And then here's the next one coming up. Okay, slurring, same note. Okay, that happens to be the F major bebop scale. I have a video about the bebop scale, and adding a chromatic note to make a 7-note scale into an 8-note scale, and specifically slurring when you use that is one of the things I talked about in that video. I'll put a link to it in the description, or if you search bebop scale guitar, that video should come up. Okay, so slur. Here's that other part again. It is so lots going on, but the 2 places that he's slurring, those 2 spots, slurring onto the beat. Okay, so like I said, Wes Montgomery will and it's crazy because he's playing with his thumb, but he'll just pluck every single note very often in his playing. Let's listen to this lick from D Natural Blues and how he does not slur. That example is this. Okay, this slur doesn't count because it's a grace note. It's not from a beat of its own, from an offbeat onto the strong beat. So he does do that, but it's a grace note. So that lick again is, and these don't count either because that's not using it in the way that we're talking about. That's just a little run of multiple notes. Okay, so that time I did it with some slurs. Let me add the slurs on purpose. Okay, lots of slurs onto the beat, but that's because I've worked on being able to do that. So interestingly, I will end up doing that with licks or things I've learned where the original player did not do it, but that's because I like that sound. It's in my playing from the exercise I'm going to give you in a second. So here it is back to back without slurs and then with. Here it is with. And all of those slurs were onto the beat, like we talked about. Let's do one more example. This is by Grant Green. It's his opening lick on the tune, for his solo on the tune On Green Dolphin Street. Okay, really simple little lick. Okay, and in my mind, I always remembered that having one slur in it right there because it goes onto the beat, so it just feels right to me. Notice how that feels perfectly fine, though it's not the way he played it because he was really picking everything. And players like Pat Martino will just pick everything. Players like Pat Metheny will slur a ton and slur onto the beats like that to get that kind of feel. So those are our examples. Let's go into a scale exercise where we're going to practice slurring onto every single beat, and then we're going to practice slurring onto only select places, 1 or 2, that actually feel good to us. We're going to do a scale form. If you need a PDF printout of scale forms or just a digital PDF of them, I have a free parent scales PDF. The parent scales are the scales that all the modes come from. So it's pretty much every scale shape you need. So it has every scale and all 5 positions and shapes of them written out really clean for you. You can get that for free with the link in the description, or you can go to soundguitarlessons.com/scales to download that, what I call the printable parent scales PDF. And we're going to use a scale form that's in that pack for this exercise, which is the C major scale with the root on the 6th string, and the lowest note of this form has the 7 on the bottom. So 7, 1, 2. It's one of the 5 ergonomic scale forms, as I call them, and it's on C, and that exact spot is in the scale PDF, and you can always just move it around to play in other keys. Now, the exercise that we're going to do is really unique. You won't find this or see this anywhere else. I devised this exercise to try to just ingrain it into my playing so that anytime I want to slur, no matter where I am, I can make sure that that's going to feel right and happen on the beats. Okay, so the exercise is hammer on plug, hammer on plug, hammer on plug, hammer on plug. It's hard to do it while talking, but it's going to feel really artificial and weird. And we want to do this to ingrain it into our playing. And then when you're just playing whatever normal stuff, it's going to feel natural to slur onto the beat just at certain select places. Okay, if some of those hammer-ons where you're just hammering on from nothing, crossing strings, if they're very, very weak sounding, that's okay. If it's like almost a ghost note even, that's okay. You want it to be audible, but it being weak is part of the point of it. That's what gets the sound of the offbeat being accented, okay? So that is the challenge for you if you're really serious about wanting to get this down. That'll do the trick for you. What I think is nice is if you do the other exercise seriously, or the first part that we just did, and then just don't even think about it and try to slur where it's easiest, that's how it's gonna come out. So it's gonna come out the desirable way. So, right there, just want it to be there. Oh, right there, it's great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, onto the beat. Pull off there. Okay, so it just feels wrong to slur anywhere that is not onto the beat because I've done that other exercise a bunch. And that's gonna help a lot with doing runs. Okay, I did 2 slurs there that help it be more relaxed, like really quite a bit, because doing this pluck, 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 pluck can cause some tension and make it feel stiff, especially at faster tempos. So especially for faster tempos, and some players only resort to the slurs because they want all the picks, but at the very fast tempos, then they'll go into using some slurs because it really eases things up and makes it smoother and cleaner. One in-between step you can do from the extreme all slurs to the just here and there where it feels right is figure out, go through it, down, up, down, and even write it out if you need to, and choose only the spots, do all of the spots that you can do that are onto the beat and from the same string. There's still only going to be 2 or 3 spots. So down, up, slur, up, down, up, slur, up, down, up, slur. So there's still only 3 spots to do it, but that's the in between where now you're being strict with certain parameters. You're not letting yourself do the cross string one, but you're doing all the others. And if you do a few of these things, it'll really get into your playing and help you feel a lot. If you want to practice this with a ton of scales, just get my printable parent scales PDF. There's a link in the top of the description, or go to soundguitarlessons.com/scales to get it. You can do that exercise with tons of other scale shapes or scale forms, melodic, minor, whatever you want, if you're into working on that, or if you need to or want to work on your scales for, of course, any other reason at all. Thanks so much for watching. I post a new lesson video every week, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care and happy practicing.